Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, detained and barred from entering Hong Kong.
I was disappointed, not because I was not allowed entry, but because I was deprived of the opportunity to see my grandchildren enjoy their vacation in Hong Kong.
Following her move to charge Chinese President Xi Jinping at the International Criminal Court.
Yes, that was bullying. How do you call it if that's not bullying? I think someone came up with the theory that shock and awe daw. Hindi naman ako nasi-shock, hindi naman ako na-oo. Nabubwisit lang.
Also, we get to know the status of the ICC case seeking to protect fishermen in the West Philippine Sea.
There seems to be no action on the part of the Philippines to consider filing criminal case against the President of China.
And what else can the Philippines do with China's ongoing presence in disputed waters 3 years since the country won at The Hague? Former Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales and legal counsel Anne Marie Corominas join us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. A former ombudsman was denied entry in Hong Kong last week, with Hong Kong immigration officials considering her a, quote, security threat. Her detention comes after she filed a communication at the International Criminal Court together with former Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario, charging Chinese President Xi Jinping of crimes against humanity. Also, the Supreme Court has issued a writ of kalikasan demanding the government to protect and preserve shoals in the West Philippine Sea. But is the government doing enough? Let's go straight to the source of the story, former Ombudsman Justice Conchita Carpio Morales. Justice Carpio Morales, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, Pinky.
The last time I saw you, I believe, was, well, personally in your office, but you also granted us an interview when you filed the case, a communication against President Xi Jinping.
That's correct.
Right, in the office in Makati. How have you been?
I'm great. I have been great. I have been enjoying the luxury of retirement.
And I think part of that retirement was supposed to be your trip to Hong Kong.
Yes, among other things.
To Disneyland. Okay, let's begin with that May 21. 9 days ago, when you were barred by Chinese immigration officials from actually entering Hong Kong, you arrived supposedly in the Hong Kong airport at about 12:20 in the afternoon. Run us through what happened, Justice.
Well, early February, we had booked for our flight to Hong Kong. I had promised my grandkids that I'd bring them to Disneyland in Hong Kong during the school break, because 3 years ago, I brought them to Disneyland in Tokyo. And last year, I brought them to Universal Studios in Osaka, as well as Legoland. So given the young age of my grandchildren, they're still at a stage where they would like those kind of things. So, all right, we had booked our flight, as I said earlier, in early February.
Yeah.
But in March, I was involved in this plan to send a communication to the Office of the Prosecutor in The Hague. And in fact, our letter to the Office of the Prosecutor was delivered personally by our legal counsel, Attorney Corominas, to the Office of the Prosecutor, asking that an examination be started for the determination of whether or not the alleged crimes committed by President Xi of China, along with two others, would be meritorious as far as the ICC is concerned.
Right. So that was in March. That communication was filed in mid-March. So May 21, 2 months after, you decided to go to, well, push through rather, because you bought your tickets in February. When you got out of the airplane in Hong Kong, what happened?
Well, since I asked for a wheelchair in Manila yet, because I wanted to spare my knees from any pain in the event I would go, window shopping in Nathan Road,
Yeah.
where our hotel was to be located, When I arrived, I disembarked. I saw the wheelchair. I saw my name along with another one. So immediately, I boarded the wheelchair, and then the lady who was pushing my wheelchair brought me out. But I had to wait for my husband, my son, my daughter-in-law, and my grandchildren. These grandchildren of mine are the children of my son who died of cancer in 2015, right? So when finally my family and I met, they joined the queue, and I was surprised why I was not joining the queue too. And
With
so
your family? Oh,
yes,
kasi
and so
naman.
I asked the lady who was pushing the wheelchair, how come I'm not going to join my family? And she said, there's another immigration. That's how I understood what she said. There's another immigration area, something. So I thought that since I was in a wheelchair, I was
You're
given,
special.
Yes, special
Special
consideration. All right. So I was brought to a room, and there were, I think, one or two gentlemen there. They got my passport, and then I think they photocopied it and all that. And after some time, I was brought out and brought to another room.
Wait, were you doubting what happened, what was going on already at that time?
Yeah, well, of course, it occurred to me that they might have probably wanted to verify who I was because the name was familiar. But later on, I believed I was targeted early on. Yes.
What did they say to you? Did they really say the words as per instruction, or were the words security threat used?
No. I kept asking them, what is the reason for my denial of my entry to Hong Kong? And they said, immigration reason. And said, I want to know so I can defend myself. And they said, sorry, immigration reason. Kept saying that.
Matipid sila. Maybe yun
Yes.
lang ang ginamit nila.
Yes.
Yeah. So they never used security threat, Justice?
No.
And no per instruction?
No.
Because those were the words that came out.
I think the per instruction came from, I think, Secretary Locsin, or probably he was also quoting the consulate.
So you were held in a room for 4 hours.
Almost 4 hours.
At any time, was your family allowed inside that room?
No.
At
I
all?
kept asking them, can I see my daughter-in-law? And then they said, no. Can I have my luggage? And they said, no, tell your family to put it in the conveyor belt so someone will pick it up and bring it to you. All right. So can I give the money that I have to my daughter-in-law? No. We'll see what we can do. But they never did anything. So I pretended to have all the money for the entire family in my possession.
So that it would give you reason, give
Yes.
them reason to
talk.
allow you to see them.
Yes,
Yeah.
to see at least my daughter-in-law
Yeah.
if they did not like.
But they never did.
They never did. They were not allowed to see me.
At what point did you see them? And how did they know
Well,
what was going on?
All
with
right.
you?
My daughter-in-law texted me, where are you? So I said, can you describe where your room is? And I could not describe because it was a room and I don't know which was near what edifice or whatever. All right. So I texted her, I've been subjected to interrogation and all that, something like that. And then she said, take pictures, take pictures. So because the lady who was pushing the wheelchair was behind me, I could, I was not comfortable taking pictures. I was able only to get 2 photographs. One showing a lady who was really focusing her gaze on me.
Really?
And later, a group of 4 or 5 gentlemen, they were huddled. It is as if there was a war, because they kept, talking to each other. And I saw a thick rim of papers on top of which was the photocopy of my passport picture and all that. So I asked my daughter-in-law, Google the Philippine consulate number, because before I came, I already Googled it. The Consul General is Ambassador Morales, no relation. But I placed his number, his name in my wallet, but I did not like to open my wallet because, they might be very suspicious about what I would be doing. I was trying to be composed, serene, and, which... So then suddenly they asked me to go inside a room. I'll just ask a few questions and then said, why did you come here? I said, for R&R. I promised my grandchildren, etc. who are you with? So I said, my husband. They asked how old he was, etc., etc. Then they could see that I was a bit agitated and said, no worries. And then
Who said no worries?
the gentleman who was asking me. All right, so after that, we went out. Another wait. And in the meantime, they asked me if what kind of food I wanted, chicken or fish. I said, thank you, I'm full. And then I just want water because I wanted to take my maintenance medicine for my hypertension. So they were, of course, they were pointing to the water dispenser. I said, can I have bottled water, please? All right. Then after some time, two ladies came to bring the food and to bring the bottled water. All right. Those two ladies had since then been
Replaced?
around me.
Oh, sila pa rin.
Yes.
Yeah.
The two ladies, they stayed put. They watched over me and then all that. So, and then I was asked again to go inside the room and I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, you cannot enter Hong Kong. You have to take the 6 o'clock flight of Philippine Airlines. I said, why? Well, for immigration reason. Again, I asked, can I please be informed of what this immigration reason is? Sorry, we cannot tell you. All right, so that's it.
Did you eat their food? Did you drink their water?
Never.
Why?
Oh, that might poison me.
All right.
And then in the interim, you know, after they told me that I could not go out and all that, so I said, what time are you going to bring me to the airplane, to the counter of PAL? And then they said, at 3 o'clock. You tell your family to now go to the PAL terminal and book for the flight. So I said, I want to be assured that there are enough seats for them.
Right.
So wait a minute. And then after 5-10 minutes, they said, oh, there are enough seats. So that's it. And then, okay. So in the meantime, I asked some questions. Why should my family be, I said something like, why should my family be left behind and I'm going back to Manila? Well, sorry, for immigration reason again. So in the meantime, I told already my daughter-in-law, you are advised to go to Terminal 2 and go to the PAL counter and all that.
Book a ticket.
And then, yes. And then, after some time, 2 gentlemen came. One who claimed that he is the commander of the airport. And he said, we're sorry, ma'am, and all that. Please tell your family not to go to the PAL counter yet because we might give your case a reconsideration. And then the other gentleman to my right said, oh, he was in civilian. Both of them were in civilian clothes. And then he said, oh, I'm sorry. He said, you see, I was not here when you arrived. Did you notice that I was here for since 30 minutes ago only? So I said, when I could sense that they were really giving me the chance to enter Hong Kong, I became a bit aggressive. I said, you know, I was a Supreme Court Justice of the Republic of the Philippines. Formal, meron pang Republic. And I was also an Ombudsman of the Republic of the Philippines. I never was subjected to this kind of ordeal, to this kind of humiliation. I'm sorry. Everything was, I'm sorry.
And then you said,
and then
I don't need the reconsideration. Did you say?
No, I did not say. I did not. Well, because there was no certainty that they would give me reconsideration. But I felt that they were really giving reconsideration to my case. And then after some time, I think the one who claimed that he was commander of the
Airport,
or I cannot recall now. He gave me, he said, now you can meet your family. So I was escorted to the area where my family was waiting. And then there I saw 2 staff of the consulate.
the Philippine consulate.
Yes, in Hong Kong. And well, of course, before that, they talked to me. They said, ma'am, we did everything. We asked the people in the immigration that you should be allowed entry, and then we are guaranteeing stay here and all that, but ma'am, sorry, to no avail. We were surprised, they said, because in several instances, when we guaranteed the stay of Filipinos, they would always accommodate us, but this time they did not accommodate you.
We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, former Ombudsman Justice Conchita Carpio Morales, and joining us now, her legal counsel, Anne Marie Corominas, attorney also. Good to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, I need to move the story forward. First questions would be, why Hong Kong, and will you go back to Hong Kong, Justice?
Why Hong Kong? Because I already brought my grandkids to Tokyo Disneyland 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And in fact, last year I brought them to Universal Studios in Osaka. So I thought that before we go to Los Angeles, they might as well see Disneyland in Hong Kong. Your other question is,
Will
would
you
I
go
ever
back to
go
Hong
back to
Kong?
Hong Kong? Never.
Hong Kong? Never?
Never. I don't like to go through that ordeal again. And at all events, I don't like to contribute a single Hong Kong dollar to the economy of Hong Kong.
The kind of help that the government gave you, or the kind of assistance they gave you, were you happy with that? Let me just bring this in. DOJ Secretary Guevara saying, regardless of the reason, however, we may not question the action taken by Chinese immigration officials, as the entry of foreigners or the refusal thereof is exclusive and sovereign prerogative of any country.
There's no doubt that that's sovereign prerogative of any country, but at least they should at least have helped me determine what was the reason behind the denial of my entry. To give up that easily is not to me satisfactory. Although, of course, the consulate in Hong Kong tried their best to talk to the immigration people to allow me to enter Hong Kong, because after all, I was with my family.
Yeah.
I was with my grandkids, young grandkids. They knew that because they asked for their age. But just the same, the consulate of Hong Kong said, we were wondering why they did not accommodate us, because they accommodated us in several instances when Filipino citizens were denied entry.
And this was a different case. To Anne Marie also, when we talk about this case, a lot of people were speculating you were possibly barred from entering because of the case before the ICC or the International Criminal Court. Rather, just to be very clear about it, the communication filed before the International Criminal Court. That's the speculation. This was filed in March 17 or 15?
15.
Filed in March 15. And is there any update on this communication filed before the ICC against President Xi Jinping?
Yes.
Can you tell us?
Well, our legal counsel received an email from the Office of the Prosecutor advising us the development that had occurred in the interim. She can give the details.
Attorney, go ahead.
Well, actually, we found out about the email. It was a little delayed in reaching us because we have some problems with our emails.
Why do you have problems
Say
with
it
your
was
email?
dated.
Yes, it was actually dated May 20th, the day before the Ombudswoman was
Denied entry?
Yes.
Because it happened in May 21?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is a letter from the Office of the Prosecutor. I can read a little of it.
Please.
We're not going to disseminate it, but it says that it thanks us for the communication as well as any subsequent related information. And it says, quote, the office is analyzing the allegations identified in your communication with the assistance of other related communications and other information available. And it says, the purpose of the analysis is whether to see if
The alleged crimes.
the alleged crimes are within the jurisdiction of the court. So, and that, if they do, then that would open a preliminary examination. And it says that analysis will be carried out as expeditiously as possible, but please be aware that meaningful analysis of these factors can take some time. So,
How do you understand that? To me, it's a little contradictory, especially the last line that an analysis is being done immediately, but it also takes some time, rather. How do you understand
Expeditiously. Well,
Expeditiously.
in light of the fact that the issue is whether or not the alleged crimes fall within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Prosecutor or the ICC for that matter, they had to consider related information. They were just considering the testimonial, no, the documentary evidence that we presented, part of which had already been vetted by the arbitral tribunal, but they still had to consider other information that reached them and any subsequent information that they may require us to submit.
Help us understand this. This response from the Office of the Prosecutor 2 months after filing the communication before the ICC, is this fast enough? Mabilis ba to 2 months after?
Yes, I mean, you have to realize that there are almost 10,000 communications to date that go to the court, and they're not that big a court. It's a relatively young court. It's only been in operation since 2003. And of course, it's, you know, it's having its growing pains, but this is good. It's a good development.
It's a positive development?
Yes.
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 So you're happy with this communication that you received May 20? Can you tell us more about, I was a little confused with you saying that it was a bit belated or delayed, this May 20 email, because the justice was barred entry May 21. So they emailed you May 20, but when did you actually receive it?
The day after the
left.
Hong Kong incident.
So May 22.
Yes.
So it was dated May 20, justice left May 21, but you got it May 22.
Yes.
Does that sound suspicious for you guys?
Well, I worked on the first case. I was an assistant secretary and headed legal and international affairs during the time of President Aquino in Malacanang. So I was part of the first case against China, and maybe it can be publicly said now, but right after we filed the first case, we were under constant cyber attack. I mean, in Malacanang, we didn't have our emails for a year. Every time the official malacanang.gov.ph system would go up, the emails, I mean, the system would go down.
Okay.
So, yes, so we were under cyber attack, so we're undergoing cyber attack now too.
How can you, is there a way to fix it? Can you do something about it? And what about your cell phones? Are you worried possibly about any communication?
Well, I have become paranoid as far as I'm concerned, because sometimes I even receive some messages from friends, but the style of the messages would indicate that it did not come from my friend.
Really?
So they said, yes. Also they said, why don't you call up that friend to determine? I would not be doing that.
So you would receive a message from a friend, but it doesn't sound like your friend's the one texting you. So you feel that obviously somebody else is doing this on behalf of your friend.
I mean, all this,
It's
now the debate about Huawei and the 5G network, I mean, I can say, as I've experienced it in the first case, because I was part of the first team in Malacanang, and then I moved to support Justice Carpio in the Supreme Court when he was our spokesperson for our UNCLOS case. And literally, I mean, it's really strange when it happens, but there is a Chinese lady that picks up our phone from time to time.
How do you mean a Chinese lady picks up your phone from time to time?
Say, for example, and this, we had a witness that was in the car I was driving, and I missed a phone call from Justice Carpio.
Okay.
And what happened then was I asked, of course, the person that was in the car with me if they could hit redial and get Justice Carpio on the phone, right? Return his phone call. And so she just hit redial, and it was a Chinese lady that was answering.
You're
the phone.
returning a call from a Justice Carpio when in fact when you called back, somebody else answered,
Yes.
a Chinese woman answered. We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, former Ombudsman Justice Conchita Carpio Morales and her legal counsel, Anne Marie Corominas. Justice, you wanted to add something to what you were saying?
Well, speaking of Justice Carpio, I thought it was Justice Carpio who was being subjected to inquiry. But, you know, sometimes the names of Filipinos, you can easily spot if it's a male or a female. But in so far as the Chinese are concerned, sometimes you think he's a male, but she turns out to be a female. So probably that occurred to me. Maybe they're after Justice Carpio.
We're talking about senior associate justice.
But when I saw that pile of paper on top of which was my photograph, then
you were sure it was you.
I was assured that it was going to be me, not Justice Carpio.
Looking forward, though, ladies, what are you planning to do? What are the next moves? I mean, there's still so much to talk about. The case, the Hague ruling, rather, entering its third year in July 14, 2016. On its third-year anniversary.
Yes.
Moving
July
forward.
12th.
July 12th.
Yes.
And then also the writ of kalikasan by the Supreme Court. We have a couple of minutes left moving forward. Justice.
Yeah, go ahead.
Attorney, please go ahead.
Well, the writ of kalikasan was filed after we brought the communication to the ICC, and the Supreme Court has come out unanimously in favor of the writ. And what the writ does, it's the kalikasan, it's about the environment. So it's compelling our local officials and our government to enforce our award and to protect the West Philippine Sea. Right? So that is a positive development there.
All right, just last words, Justice, please. We're going to have to say goodbye. We've run out of time. Moving forward, what are your plans?
Well, while we are awaiting the more positive response from the Office of the Prosecutor, we would like to thank also the United States of America for, well, especially the senators, for coming up with a bill that would impose sanctions on the Chinese government in light of the activities, questionable activities in the South China Sea and also in the East China Sea. There's a bill which was filed in 2017 yet, but it was activated now. It was filed by Rubio, Senator Rubio.
Yes.
Senator Rubio,
yes.
Yes.
All right. We've run out of time. I think we're going to continue our discussion on Facebook. So for those who still want to listen to our interview, please log on to our Facebook account. I'd like to thank both ladies for being here this morning. Attorney Anne Marie, thank you so much. Justice, again, always good to see you. Maraming salamat.
My pleasure. Thank you. The feeling is mutual.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.